So what if you could invest in social change, the same way you invest in a company? That's the huge idea behind one of India's most ambitious financial experiments, a stock market built specifically for social good. Okay, let's get into it and see what this is all about.
The whole story really kicks off right here, with this announcement back in 2019. The vision was pretty clear. Create a dedicated platform right within the existing stock market ecosystem and regulated by SEBI to help social organizations raise some serious capital. And this wasn't just talk. After that announcement in 2019, various committees were set up over the next couple of years to really hash out all the nitty-gritty details. And by July 2022, boom, the social stock exchange was officially notified. It was real.
But this whole thing raises a massive question. I mean, the idea of a stock market for social causes, it's not totally new. Other countries have tried it, and let's just say the results have been, well, mixed. So the real question is, could India's version finally be the model that actually works on a global scale?
To even begin to answer that, we first need to get our heads around what this thing actually is. So let's break down the basic concept.
So here's the key thing to understand. The social stock exchange isn't some brand new standalone building. It's a special section carved out within India's big existing stock exchanges. The BSE and the NSE. And it really has two main jobs. First, help legit social organizations raise money. And second, and this is just as important, put a huge spotlight on them.
The best way to think about it is like a bridge. You've got all these amazing social enterprises doing incredible work on one side. On the other, you have donors and investors who are looking for places to put their money where it'll make a real difference. The SSE is that trusted bridge connecting them, making sure the organizations are the real deal.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Because like I said, India isn't the first to try this, but its model is totally different from what anyone else has attempted. This is India's big, unique bet on the world stage.
So if you look at what other countries have done, a pattern just jumps out at you. The exchanges in Brazil and the UK, they focused only on nonprofits, and, well, they're inactive now. The ones in Singapore and Canada are up and running, but they only work with for-profit social companies. And this is where India is taking a huge swing. It's the first to try and build one, single, powerful platform for both nonprofits and for-profits. That is a much tougher challenge.
And that brings us to this key term, social enterprise. For India's SSEs, this can be your traditional nonprofit charity, or it can be a regular for-profit company. The one thing that ties them together, the absolute deal breaker, is that creating social impact has to be their main reason for existing, not just some side project. And to prove it, organizations have to pass this really strict three-part test. First, their main focus has to line up with one of 16 specific social development goals. Second, at least 2/3, 67% of everything they do has to be about that social mission. And third, they have to prove they are helping underserved or less privileged groups. And the rules are also crystal clear about who is not allowed. This isn't some backdoor for big corporate foundations, political groups, or religious organizations to raise funds. The whole point is to keep the focus squarely on the frontline social enterprises doing the work. Okay, so we know who can get listed on the exchange, but how do they actually raise the money? Well, this is where a brand new type of financial tool comes into the picture, something created just for this. It's called a zero-coupon, zero-principal instrument. Yeah, it's a mouthful, so let's just call it a ZCZP. This is the main way that nonprofits on the exchange can take donations from the public.
The name sounds super complicated, but the idea is actually incredibly simple. Zero coupon means you get zero interest. Zero principal means you don't get your original money back. So, in plain English, it's a donation. It's just a donation that's been packaged to work inside the stock market system.
So, you're probably wondering, why go through all this trouble for a donation? Because it brings a ton of transparency and structure. To donate with a ZCZP, your money has to be in dematerialized form, or DMAT, the same way you hold stocks. And that means you need a DMAT account, which brings a whole new level of formality to giving.
And honestly, this highlights a benefit that's maybe even bigger than the money. Think about it. Even if a nonprofit doesn't raise a single rupee on the exchange, just the act of getting registered is a huge win. Why? Because it means they've passed SEBI's tough background checks. It's like a stamp of approval that tells every potential donor, hey, This is a credible, transparent organization.
So the framework is all there, and organizations are already starting to use it. But for India's social stock exchange to really live up to its potential and become a massive global success, there are a couple of big hurdles that still need to be cleared.
The first one is all about incentives. Right now, if you donate through a ZZP on the exchange, you get the standard 50% tax deduction. But a lot of people are arguing that to really get the money flowing, that incentive needs to be way, way stronger. We're talking at least 100% deduction.
And if you want to see what a powerful incentive looks like, just look at Singapore. Over there, donations to approved charities can get you a mind-boggling 250% tax deduction. That's the kind of policy that really gets people to open up their wallets.
The second major roadblock is regulation. There's something called the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, or FCRA, that has super strict rules about nonprofits getting money from outside India. And right now, those rules basically make it impossible for foreign citizens or companies to donate through a ZCZP, which cuts off a huge potential source of funding.
So, the path forward seems pretty clear. There are two policy changes that could be absolute game changers. First, jack up that tax deduction to get domestic donors excited. And second, create a clear, safe path for foreign money to come in through the ZCZP, especially since these organizations have already been so thoroughly vetted by SEBI. Which leaves us right here. India has designed this truly ambitious, really smart model that learns from all the other attempts around the world. The foundation has been laid. The question now is whether the final policy moves will be made to unlock its full potential and turn this incredible Indian experiment into a true global success story.